Hey everyone, Mitchell back here on the Sports Hub. Hope everyone's having a great start to their Wednesday and slash afternoon. Today is actually bowl projection time. I mean, this is definitely a video of how the projections are looking. I heard there's some dramatic changes, and after the video I posted last night, the Auburn Tigers are ahead of the Crimson Tide, the 2-loss Crimson Tide, and the 3-loss Auburn Tigers. But Auburn just really deserves to be ahead of them just because beating Oregon and beating Alabama in Iron Bowl, one of the biggest college football rivalries of all time. I mean, you really just can't count them out. Bo Nix is one of my favorite current college football quarterbacks to watch. They just have it all. Gus Malzahn's squad really gets hot at the end of this time of year, so we'll see which bowl they're in. And then the first bowl, the makers wanted Bahamas Bowl before the Celebration Bowl. It's not. Excuse me, there are teams that you really don't hear every year, but we'll start with the Bahamas Bowl. Buffalo and Charlotte. My parents both went to Central Michigan, so Central is not projected in the Bahamas Bowl. The used to be the Popeyes Bahamas Bowl. They had that Hail Mary, Cooper Rush. Yep, that was just a really good play. And then Steve Levy, after that game, eventually got moved up to do bigger college football games. So, yep, that's obviously a MAC school that's in that against Charlotte. And then on ESPN 2 at 7:30 on the 20th, they have SMU and Florida Atlantic. And then the Celebration Bowl, this is the bowl I mentioned earlier. It's at noon on ABC, the 21st. North Carolina A&T, which they're usually in this one. Grambling State's been in this one before multiple times, but I don't think Grambling State's very good this year. I think they only have 2 or 3 wins, so they're not in, and they're going to play Alcorn State, so it should be a good game. The New Mexico Bowl, they have Marshall and San Diego State, and another has Western Kentucky and Wyoming. The Auto Nation Cure Bowl, they have Georgia Southern and Florida International. For the Boca Raton Bowl in Boca Raton, Florida, it's Ohio and Tulane, or Ohio and SMU, so that should actually be a good game. Two teams that even out, and they're both having a pretty good season this year. The Camellia Bowl, December 21st at 5:30. There's a lot of bowl games that day. So that's gonna be a fun day just to catch up and watch some great college football that day. Western Michigan, Louisiana Lafayette, Georgia State and Kent State. And then at 7:30 on ABC that night, it's the Las Vegas Bowl. They have Boise State playing either Washington State or Arizona State. Washington State's kind of getting hot at the end. They lost to Washington, but it was a good game till about halftime, and it's hard to win those type of big rivalry games, especially when they have been down this year. But if they get to that game, I see it being very close. And if Arizona State goes just because Herm Edwards is the true GOAT, and then they had an unbelievable quarterback against Oregon, that would definitely be another great showdown if that happened. The R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. This is actually usually an afternoon game, but they have it at 8 o'clock that night on ESPN. App State is having a really good year. They're back in the top 25. They're 22 as of yesterday. Excuse me. They'll have UAB or Louisiana Tech, and Louisiana Tech's been in this one multiple times. Louisiana Monroe. The Raging Cajuns have been in this one because it's their home stadium, so they kind of get the advantage, but it's fun to see these type of small schools really compete, and it's a fairly big bowl for App State because App State's kind of in the lower tier bowl. I think this is a very impressive prediction, and we'll see what happens. December 23rd on ESPN before the big Packers, Go Pack Go, showdown versus the Vikings. They have Western Kentucky or Temple, or Florida International versus UCF, so a couple of good options there. I think obviously he was going to get in the Hawaii Bowl. It's on December 24th, Christmas Eve at 8 o'clock Eastern. I think Hawaii will definitely get in, and they would play BYU, which would be a very good matchup, especially with them at home. See what they can really do there in a postseason type of environment. The Walk-Ons Independence Bowl, Miami would play Louisiana Tech or Florida Atlantic, and Miami's kind of down this year, but luckily they had that 6 win, and they'll still get to a bowl game. The Quick Lane Bowl, which used to be the Little Caesars Bowl, that's in Detroit. MAC teams used to be in this one many times, but the Big Ten's are going to get in. And Michigan State, they barely won last weekend to Maryland to become bowl eligible with that 6th win. kind of sending them to the Walmart Bowl, but they got into a bowl game. Brian Lewerke will have his last chance in his Michigan State career to get a bowl victory and have D'Antonio squat and stand out actually for once this year. They would have Florida State and Michigan State, which I don't think Florida State went that self to be in the Quick Lane Bowl, but anyway, they have them. Or another matchup they projected. This is through ESPN, by the way. They had Boston College versus Indiana. So either will be Big Ten teams or ACC. So we'll really see what happens come conference championship weekend, too. The Military Bowl, we'll kind of skip through it. UCF and North Carolina. How about Mac Brown's squad? North Carolina is bowl eligible, and they barely lost to Clemson, but they got it done last week. And they ended up becoming bowl eligible, which is very exciting for their newly formed program. So then we had the Pinstripe Bowl. One as Michigan State, and that one against Wake Forest, and that's a good bowl for Michigan State to be in. Or Indiana versus North Carolina. So North Carolina could either make the Detroit Bowl, the Quick Lane, or the Pinstripe Bowl. So we'll really see what happens there. And then the Academy and Outdoors Texas Bowl. It's Texas A&M, who's in Texas. They would play Kansas State. That would be a good matchup. And this is the bowl Michigan was in for about 2.5 weeks in a row. It's the Holiday Bowl on Fox Sports 1, but Iowa ended up taking over their spot because, like I said in the video last night, they only moved down one ranking after getting really blown out to Ohio State. So I was jumping up and down, as you guys saw last night if you were watching. I got excited that we only went down one spot because we did have quality wins. I think they're quality enough, especially when we beat Iowa, beat bigger schools. I mean, I think the committee really liked that, and it'll put us in the bowl. You guys won't want to miss that part in this video. So Iowa is projected in this one. Nonetheless, they would play Arizona State or USC, and I see them playing USC because USC's fans would draw out way better just because it's near their campus. The Cheez-It Bowl, December 22nd to December 27th. This has been a shootout many times, this underrated bowl game. They have Air Force and Liberty or Air Force and Washington State. So we're going to keep a good eye on that one to see if that's going to be a good game this year or not. The Camping World Bowl for about 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Notre Dame is scheduled to play in that bowl from the projections. They would play either Texas or Oklahoma State. If it was Notre Dame, Texas, it would be the matchup of a historic Labor Day weekend one a few years ago where Texas was back as Joe Tessitore and Talk Blackledge did a great job calling that game. So if Ian Book and Sam Ehlinger can compete against each other in a bowl game, that's going to be one of the biggest bowl games of the year. And you got to mark that down because I think it's very true because two veteran quarterbacks in college football going at it in Orlando, Florida. You can't really get better than that for a non-New Year's Six type of bowl. December 28th, by the way, other than the playoff games, they get a lot better. So next we have the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Memphis is in both projections. They would play Baylor or Auburn, Red Hot Auburn. December 30th, these are kind of smaller schools, but they have Southern Miss or Kent State out of the MAC. Or Marshall versus Western Michigan. So who knows on that one. The Music City Bowl, I went to this bowl a few years ago. I really liked it. It was a fun college football environment. It was almost 50 degrees after it being really cold here in Wisconsin. It was great to be on vacation there for New Year's just to check out the beautiful city, even if it's not going to a sporting event. There's just a lot of great bars and restaurants to check out. And then the Grand Ole Opry had beautiful Christmas stuff. So this was a fun bowl game. It was Nebraska and Tennessee, but there are no Big Ten teams in it this year unless they had to be replaced with another. So in this bowl this year, it'll be Louisville versus Mississippi State, and I think Mississippi State's had a couple of big wins in the end of the season, so I think that's deserving. Those two teams are deserving in that bowl game, and Louisville's been down ever since Lamar Jackson left, so they're both. I think they'll easily be projected from other sources too for that one. In the Redbox Bowl, the bowl Michigan State was in last year, they have California versus Illinois. Illinois bunt up their bowl ratings really well. I think they're in a way better bowl because they upset Wisconsin. That ended Wisconsin's college football playoff hopes at all. Virginia and Florida both the analysts on ESPN are projected. This is really good, and if Virginia gets the statement upset against Clemson this weekend, they'll bump up to an even bigger New Year's Six bowl. But this is a big deal that they even get in one, and they would play the Florida Gators, and without Felipe Franks. It's amazing that they did make the New Year's Six. They really climbed up in the ratings after winning a big rivalry game against Florida State. So I think that would actually be a very notable New Year's Six game to tune into. The Belk Bowl, Kentucky and Pittsburgh, or UAB versus Virginia Tech. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Yes, you heard that right. Tony the Tiger is the sponsor. It used to be Hyundai for years for this Sun Bowl game, but they changed it. I mean, he's the sponsor. It'll be cool to see him run around as a mascot in this game. It's at 1 Central Time on CBS. It's the typical New Year's Eve or the day before New Year's Eve type of game. So Washington and Virginia Tech are projected. This is a decent bowl for Washington, especially that they didn't have Jake Browning, but with them beating Washington State, their rivals. Let me get a drink quick. Sorry, I'm chewing on some ice here, but with them beating Washington State last week, I think they're in a bigger bowl than just the Holiday Bowl. So I see that prediction being right, and they would play Virginia Tech or Wake Forest for these projections. And these aren't for sure, but I just want to share out these fun projections because I heard some interesting ones. You guys are going to find out in a little bit. The Autos on Liberty Bowl, they have Iowa State and Navy, both the guys do. The Valero Alamo Bowl, USC and Oklahoma State, or Oregon, Texas. That'll be another good one Texas would get in, especially if it's in their own state. They might choose them in the Alamo Dome just because of geographic reasons. The Nova Loans Arizona Bowl on CBS Sports. It's kind of a low view game, but still, I mean, it is college football. Nevada's had a decent year this year. They really have a really tough offense, and I think they're deserving for a New Year's Day bowl. They will play Georgia State or Georgia Southern, so either team will be from Georgia. In the Citrus Bowl, this is the one I want to talk about the most. One person has Alabama and Michigan because Alabama moved down one on Auburn, like I said earlier in this video. I can't believe this is actually happening, but I'm really excited that they will be in the New Year's Day Bowl as the projections started to change this week. I was jumping up and down the earliest afternoon once I found that out. We're definitely deserving of one, and to play Alabama, I think that would be very special to really see what the competition will be like after a blowout last Saturday to Ohio State. In the Outback Bowl, Minnesota would either play Alabama or Tennessee, so that's really interesting. But I think it's fair to say Minnesota's in the Outback Bowl after getting swamped to the Badgers last weekend. In the Rose Bowl, it's ESPN projections, but I could probably do CBS Sports projections later if you guys want to, but we'll keep this going right now. At 4 o'clock on New Year's Day, obviously, it's the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. The Nittany Lions would face either Oregon or Utah. It comes down to the Big Ten championship game this weekend. Either Wisconsin or Penn State will be the Rose Bowl representative in the Big Ten because regardless, Ohio State's in the playoff no matter what. They're number one in the nation. The worst they can drop to is 3 if Wisconsin upsets them this weekend. So it'll come down to that one, and I hope it's a really close game, and go Badgers in that one. In the All-State Sugar Bowl, Jalen Hurts in Oklahoma face Georgia for one of the projections, and Georgia and Baylor are another. In the Birmingham Bowl, Florida State and Cincinnati, or Boston College versus Cincinnati. So Cincinnati is out of the American Athletic Conference. They're both projected to be in this bowl from both of them. In the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl for now, just depending on Saturday, Wisconsin would either play Tennessee, and Tennessee barely got in a bowl game. They definitely got hot at the end. Their defense ended up getting really tough, and thanks to their defense, they are bowl eligible, but they would play them or Kentucky, and Kentucky was kind of down, but they still got to a bowl game. Congrats on them for getting eligible. January 3rd, Miami, Ohio versus Utah State. The Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl. This is one Navy's usually in many times, but I don't see them yet, so we'll really see during the Army-Navy game if they have a chance to be in a bowl game or not. The Learning Tree Bowl, this is actually where my parents went to school. And Central Michigan is in that game for both predictions against either Louisiana or Arkansas State. And last but not least, the playoffs. At the the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, they have Ohio State #1 playing Utah or Oklahoma. So that's going to be a really good Friday game, Utah and Oregon, to really say if Utah does hang with their fourth seed or bumps down to make the Rose Bowl. So we'll see what happens with that one. They're going to have a lot of noise to make it they want to get there, but they're a very tough team, and we'll really see if they take that spot. And LSU and Clemson will be the other game. That's going to be very good. Trevor Lawrence versus Joe Burrow. But hopefully LSU comes out on top. See some different teams in it. And for the national championship, both obviously have Ohio State and LSU projected in that. So hope everyone enjoyed this video. Have a great day. And stay tuned next time on M Sports Hub YouTube channel.